Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. This is Daily Global Insights episode 373. A lot of information coming out of Turkey and Pakistan that Turkey trained up to 6,000 people to do cyber troll army attacks with an anti-Hindu narrative, an anti-India narrative. To understand more and also a few other breaking information, let's welcome our co-host Sridhar Chityalaji. Sridharji, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel. Sir, how are you?
Namaskar. Good morning to everybody. Happy to be here, or good evening if you happen to be in India.
Sridharji, the Turkey's minister has openly said that at the request of the Interior Minister of Pakistan and with the full knowledge of Imran Khan, Turkey trained a cyber troll army of 6,000 people who will attack India with an anti-India narrative. Sridharji, we have done a fair amount of research. P Gurus can say we were one of the more leading tips of the spear here who have been talking about using programmatic stuff to show how this noise has gone up. What can you tell us about this, sir? Why is Turkey interested in this? We also have Iran, by the way. Iran is also just as guilty.
Well, I think it's firstly astonishing the interior minister has gone public and stated that when Pakistan approached Turkey, as the interior minister, whether he had the support of the rest of the Pakistani establishment is unclear, even for the reports. They went ahead and they said it's a fellow Islamic republic, and they chose to support. And hence, they engaged in training these people, the so-called information officers and so on. Apparently, they're still operational, more than 6,000 of them, by going to Pakistan and training. And these farms were established in Southeast Asia. Why Southeast Asia? They were established because there is already a number of people operating out of Southeast Asia, so which makes it very propensive to virally propagate this message. Hence, Southeast Asia was chosen. Apparently, it also included, some of the things of United States, because it started around 2018. If you recall, that's right in the middle of the Trump regime. So it seems like it is very, very targeted, very focused, and it's very, very sad that these things are happening, and it's part and parcel of the game that is going on, Shriji. And the good news is now at least we have a new head running Twitter. Hopefully, we will have a new head running Facebook or Meta platform as well.
Well, about Twitter, there was an interesting video that we released a few hours ago, Sridharji, with Elmer Yuan. Elon is stuck a bit in China, and he explains why he's stuck in China. He also explains why Elon Musk gave out some tweets about how Taiwan should be treating itself like an autonomous region like Hong Kong and so on and so forth. There is some interesting stuff going on. So I will hold my breath, sir, until he really starts making his presence known at Twitter. So we'll just wait on that one. The second thing, we are going to show a map, Sridharji. In Neoma Advanced Landing Ground, India has upgraded this airfield, which is about 50 kilometers from the line of actual control. With your permission, I'm going to put it up, sir, so you can talk to it. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I think that what is important here is this is the advanced landing ground facilities, which was used even during the Galwan battle, the Chinook helicopters, and the heavy airlift. I think it's C-190 aircraft was also used here. So the fact that this is about 50 kilometers from the LAC, which you can see from the map, the red dot is the LAC region. You can see it's also not too far from the Pagong Lake. The fact that they are now retooling and getting it organized and ready in battle preparedness is a reflection that, which we touched on either yesterday or day before, that India is fairly well prepared with its defense and deterrence mechanisms in terms of dealing with a belligerent China, which has made its position very clear in terms of what its objectives are.
And Russian President Vladimir Putin lauded India's Prime Minister's independent foreign policy that serves Indian interests. Sridharji, this is going to be tested, in my opinion, with the way Xi Jinping has grabbed power in China. What do you say, sir?
Well, I think there is a two-pronged strategy that is being adopted. Whether Russia is leading it or China, clearly China is not leading it, but as far as India is concerned, Russia is leading it. The question is by making India continuing to be independent, their objective is to wean it away from the West. Okay, so any alliance or any formation with West, they are trying to break as a result of this. Recall we shared it in one of the DGIs after the Samarkand or Uzbekistan meet. There was a simultaneous withdrawal of forces from some of the disputed areas, and which prompted, when question was posed to Dr. Jaishankar, he said, "One problem less for us." So that was his kind of comment. It is meant that that these moves were being made to make India as much as possible wean away from the West. And my question to anybody is, where is the West? There is no West as far as a coalition is concerned. All we have is a whole set of isolated activities going on with Ukraine. So Russia is trying to continuing to say that it is with India and India is with Russia.
And United Kingdom's Foreign Secretary James Cleverly has landed in India today to meet his Indian counterpart and further explore ways to increase partnership with India. India is a critical partner to United Kingdom. But as you can see, and you'll see this thing, viewers, in just a few minutes, the Leicester reports have been grossly, how should I say this thing, mangled and done. And that's a different topic because of the fact that Labour Party is very, anti-India. The point I'm trying to make, sir, is will India not express its concerns at United Kingdom's handling of some of these crises where British Hindus are really feeling a little scared now? There are three cities, sir, for viewers' benefit: Birmingham, then you have Leicester, and Nottingham. These are the three cities where everywhere there is a sense of nervousness. So will this also be talked, or is it just going to be business, business, business?
Well, I think, the way the political circles operate is what is publicly discussed and what is privately discussed. The way Modi has approached his foreign policy is, while expressing any discontent, in terms of the specific incidents or activities that go on, he also recognizes that within his own country, which is India, he is not able to stop lots of activities that are, many of them are anti-Indian. So
Anti-national, right.
Yeah. So therefore, I think that the point that he will discuss is what are the things that we can work with, and what are the things that we can work towards a resolution, and what are the things that cannot be resolved. So I think they will break it down, and you may not see much of it. But I think the fact that I would like to point out, the fact that this government, the new government, assumed power just less than 4 days ago. And the first visit of the foreign secretary is to India. It just reflects the positive sentiments, as well as there is no other leader. I mentioned to you, they are looking at Modi, as the Prime Minister Modi, as a leader whom they can trust and work with. Hence, and then I think they also emphasized they want to be a player in the Indo-Pacific play. Go back and recall the AUKUS play, which upset quite a few people. The Britain came in. So therefore, I think it is also part of the Indo-Pacific play, which Britain wants to negotiate. And then there's also the free trade agreement, which Liz Truss did not complete, but we started with great enthusiasm during the Boris Johnson time.
And a U.S. Senate report, that is the GOP, that is the Republican wing of the Senate, has made a report that backs Wuhan lab as the COVID-19 origin from China and not from a wild animal. Now, As soon as I say this thing, the first question that comes to my mind, Sridharji, and I'll reserve that question. I'll read one other data point. Is the present situation, the way Xi Jinping has usurped power, is it reflective of the fact that China has something to hide? That is a question foremost. But one thing that doesn't add up here, Sridharji, is Fauci, the Dr. Fauci, who was in the middle of all these things, advising the country and, in fact, the whole world on what to do in the early days of COVID. Why was he allowed to continue for so long, sir?
Let's wait for November 8th. Hopefully, we'll get a resolution. We will have a House and Senate in the opposition or opposite parties' hands. All these investigations will open up. Remember, during the tapering years of President Trump, the whole kind of COVID situation rose. Then he lost power. And then commencing from 2021, you had nothing and everything else to do with COVID, and all other matters receded into backseat as the progressive agenda began to take shape, including the suppression of Hunter Biden, including a number of other things that were suppressed, and right on the top of the list is COVID. Biden never speaks about COVID. Biden administration never speaks about COVID. So I think that's my first response. The second one, my view is Mr. Xi Jinping has definitely something to hide because he's effectively shut down the country.
Yes, indeed. And now congressional investigators are revealing evidence that is suggesting that Hunter Biden has potentially been compromised by China. And we're going to give you a name, Jackie Bao, Jackiebao. Who is this person? She has direct, is it he or she? I don't know. Sridharji can explain. This person has a direct connection to CCP and appears to be advising the Biden family. Sridharji, your takeaway, sir.
Well, this is a Republican Senate report. They have investigated emails, bank statements, etc. The Jackie may be the anglicized version of a Chinese name. Jiaki but Bao, B-A-O is the last name. He is access to CCP, and there was a seamless flow of information between Mr. Bao to CCP. It is, in fact, the report goes on to say that Mr. Bao even advised Mr. Biden to contest the elections, and also that he was negotiating with Mr. Hunter Biden for the sale of some LNG natural gas fields in United States. That is the level of detail within this specific report that has been tabled. So it's, again, what will happen if you have 3 tiers of the government under one control, then nothing is going to come out. But I believe that more will come out if at least one branch changes hands.
Now let's take a look at the Russia-Ukraine war. Nuclear tensions rise as Putin warns the West that the world faces the most dangerous decade since the Second World War. Putin also warns that US commercial satellites are now a target since they are assisting Ukraine in its campaign. This is a big deal because that means it's going to bring corporate America into the war. Pentagon confirms that there are no indications that Russian nuclear drills are cover activity. Pentagon further says that the threat from Russia is acute, but the real threat is China. Sridharji, that's a big reveal from Pentagon, sir. A lot of things I have said here. Perhaps you can expand on these.
Well, I think Vladimir Putin has established his position very clearly, which is to say that I said I'll conduct nuclear drills, I'm conducting the nuclear drills. It has come to my notice that Ukraine is getting a lot of assistance in terms of pinpointing of our locations and our army movements. And where can they get it from? In the absence of anything which is on ground, it is coming from satellites. So therefore, there's assistance coming from satellites. And whose satellites are they? They are the American commercial satellites. Since they are now assisting my enemy, they are also now part of my target. And beware that we could be taking out some of these sites, which we believe, the satellites, we believe is helping Ukraine. So I think we have a carte blanche situation here. Now, Pentagon has stepped in and effectively stated, we are observing and watching and monitoring the situation. and this is real. But we don't, we see that there is a challenge from Russia, but the challenge is more acute or more from China. Now, my question to the Pentagon is, what have you done with Quad? What is Quad? Have you guys, I mean, if you go back to some of the DGI programs, even 12 months ago, there used to be consistent, a fleet of British ships. Then you had the regular, you had Roosevelt, as well as, I forget the name of the other one. There were two ships and one carrier making rounds in the Taiwan Strait, acting as a deterrence. Then there was the Japanese, then there was the Australian, then there were several joint exercises conducted. Where is it? It's almost like they've gone to sleep, which is to say, okay, China, we are completely we have left the place for you to kind of take over, and subtly kind of moving, giving a signal. So there is no Quad. They are not talking about Quad and what the deterrence they are putting in place.
And a request to all of you to like this video, because this needs to reach a lot of eyeballs. Remember, by the way, viewers, in about 12 hours time or 14 hours time, Sridharji will be back about how he thinks the next imminent inter-country attack is going to be. And we can give you a small hint. You may be thinking it might be Taiwan, it might be India. Well, you should watch this episode. Don't miss it. It's at 11 a.m. IST, so about 17 hours from now, and we will explain to you with some data on why we think this is the particular area that is going to be attacked next. So we'll move on. I'll leave that hook hanging there. Viewers, do help us out. Please spread the word around. 11 a.m. IST tomorrow morning. What is happening in Germany? The German cabinet has allowed China's Costco, COSCO. I mean, you'll see these things in any shipping line, huge containers with the COSCO. And I have a big garage here with nothing but Costco trucks, Sridharji, in the Bay Area, because it takes from Oakland and then starts distributing all over the United States. To allow Costco to buy a stake in a terminal in the country's largest port on Wednesday, in a decision pushed through by Chancellor Olaf Scholz that triggered unprecedented protests within the governing coalition. Now, I think the city is Hamburg, if I'm not wrong. Srijati, is it Hamburg?
It is Hamburg. We covered this extensively in one of the DGI programs. If you go back and look at last year,
yes.
What this will do is this will connect Shanghai into Hamburg, and from Hamburg container port, they can have, as Sriji pointed out, trucks navigating its way all the way into Europe. And so it is almost like Germany saying, okay, it is China, welcome to Europe. You don't need to conquer. You just take this port and we give you the passage all the way through. So obviously there is litigation and all these kinds of issues. The original stake was about 35 or 36% with all kinds of rights vested. But the Chancellor, Mr. Olaf Scholz, has given them only 24.9%, and he has indicated they have no veto rights, they have no decisions. So they're still meeting the obligations. But it's very, very unfortunate. Some of the actions that the Germans have taken with regard to many of the things that is now hurting and haunting Europe.
And this is not the only one, isn't it? There is another takeover, a potential impact of a takeover of Dortmund-based Elmos by Sweden's Silex, which itself is a unit of a Chinese company called SSI Microelectronics. So Swedish company, which is wholly or majority owned by China, is now taking a stake in another company in Germany, and the German government officials are now beginning to see if this is going to be a challenge or not. I think the acquisition and the stake has already been done. Sridharji can clarify this. I think Chancellor is planning on going to China in November to clarify all this, or perhaps get a little bit better clarity on where things are going to go. But China hasn't still confirmed this visit. It might be one of the first visits of a Western country to China in the new regime. Sridharji, this Now, Germany, why is China targeting Germany like this?
Because the business is very supportive of your win-win China policy. That's where this is coming from. The business is supportive of a win-win China policy. Even the trip to Germany is orchestrated and organized by the business leaders within Germany. Why again? Because the businesses has been brutally savaged by this energy issue that is confronting Germany today. It is an export-driven economy. It is not a consumption-driven economy. And so therefore, the industry will collapse if there is no compromise. And China is one of the biggest trading partners of Germany. Now, what is this Elmos? Elmos is one which builds applications for cars on the chips. The chips are enabled for mobility, remote sensors, everything that happens within a car. Okay, Germany is a large manufacturer of cars. China is the largest manufacturer of cars. So there is a natural propensity in terms of the two industries or two countries to collaborate without worrying about the geopolitical consequences. This is where this is all heading, and which means we are beginning to see the first chinks in the armor in this new coalition, which is trying to contain China, Shriji.
Now, lastly, news about Asia. Taiwan says there is no timetable set by China for reunification other than saber rattling, but some say that this might come as early as next year. We have talked about this in a previous DGI. So this is just for information, but the more interesting stuff is, remember viewers, Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, and at that time, the chairman of TSMC had informed Nancy Pelosi that attempts to uplift chip manufacturing in the United States is bound to fail. I don't know how he's saying that. I mean, this whole thing went from US to Taiwan because of being a lower cost center. And now, if you look at the numbers, Taiwan produces 20% of the world chips, but it produces 90% of the most advanced chips. For example, the CPUs are going to your smartphone. Apple has a huge order there, and so on and so forth. But Sridharji, I cannot dispute what the chairman of TSMC is saying, sir. US can do anything it wants. It's just a matter of cost economics that drove it to leave the fab space.
Well, his to be supportive of his theory that US has sold and outsourced manufacturing and R&D, so it has lost the power, in that specific direction. So this is what has prompted him to say, yes, I mean, it. I mean, how long it takes to construct a fab industry, and the amount of research and R&D work that needs to be done, the amount of capital that needs to be deployed. So once upon a time in the 1980s, 37% of the chip manufacturing came from United States. Today, it has reduced to 12%. That's a significant kind of a drop. Now to say United States is going to regain back, that's where his apprehension is coming from. So why is TSMC implementing its diversification? It's doing it in Japan, not in. It will have a factory, I think, if I'm correct, somewhere either in Texas or in Arizona, but its diversification plans are in Japan.
Well, that brings us to a close of today's episode. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Sridharji, we'll see you again in about 14 hours' time, where we're going to talk about what is going to come down the pipe in terms of invasion plans. Is it going to be just China? Is it going to be China and Russia? Is it going to be just Russia? Where is this world heading to? Thank you very much, viewers. Do join in for that program, and namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar. Have a good day.